our guest today is an expert on learning and learning strategies. And Dr. Yvonne Fournier not necessarily follows the norm, so to speak, of what most of us think is the proper way to educate our children. You know, tests and grades and all of that stuff takes center stage with most of us. Well, she has a different concept. And while it may be a little unusual to you, it really is very interesting. And I think probably there are some kids out there whose learning capacity and life has been changed from what they have learned here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her facility before we continue, or before I bring her on. It is the leading educational counseling service in Memphis. It was founded in 1979 by Dr. Fournier. She has counseled and assessed thousands of students in nearly 30 years of operation. She is one of the most prolific educators in America, is the creator and author of Scripps Howard's Hassle-Free Homework column, which appears in more than 300 newspapers around the country. Fournier Learning Strategies offers day courses for homeschoolers from K through 12, in addition to customized after-school and summer educational counseling programs. And I am very happy to welcome to Tennessee Matters, Dr. Yvonne Fournier. And I think that probably we should just jump right into this interview and talk about some of the things that you are most knowledgeable about. We are getting close to the end of the school year, and a lot of tests, students worrying about graduation and so forth. It seems like this is a time of the year that could cause some really anxious moments for students. What do you think of that?
Well, the anxiety begins at spring break, right after it. From spring break until the end of the year, all parents, all teachers, all children know any responsibility I have, it's now or it's now. There's no second chance after the end of the year, and whatever happens at the end of the year is going to lead to a consequence. And the consequence is going to be, I'm going to celebrate, I achieved what I wanted, or what do I do next? Mm-hmm. There is going to be a problem that has to be solved, be it I was held back, I failed the course, to all the way of the A student saying, I made my first B and feeling miserable.
I want to ask you about that. And there are several topics we'll talk about, all pertaining to this anxiety and so forth. I had a daughter who was a straight A student, took honors courses and everything, her whole entire 12 years of school. When she got her first B, it was devastating to her. How does a parent cope with a child who is such a high achiever? It can be really frustrating.
Well, I think from a very young age, a parent should... I had a rule in my home, if you bring home straight A's, you may get punished. And the reason for that is the children have to feel the freedom of thinking for themselves. A child that wants to make straight A's has no choice but to try to always think of what the teacher wants. And they're always trying to please the mind of someone else. And therefore, their own freedom of thought becomes a reflection of what someone else thinks. Another thing is that many of the children who make straight A's hold on to elementary ways of learning, which is they memorize a lot. And so at the time of exams, they have to rememorize, and it's too much. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the harder it's going to be. The quantity is going to be more, and the intensity and the complexity of it has to, if you're a sixth grader, get into pre-algebra so you can take algebra in the eighth grade. There are a lot of pressures on everybody. There is the skill called anticipation, where a child does not study anymore, but rather creates questions that integrate all of the information receives and comes out with new knowledge of their own. And that is the most important skill that every high school child in America needs to learn.
Let's talk a little bit about your learning strategies.
Okay. School is divided into three parts, from K through 12, although I would love to think that one day we go to K through 16. K through kindergarten through sixth grade is a time when a parent wants their child to master their basic skills. And even though the children learn science and social studies and all of that, that's just an excuse to get a child to comprehend reading, to be able to look at something and say, well, that was about, to know where to put a period, to know how to spell, to know where the comma goes, to know that 7 times 3 was 21 and it will never, ever be 24. You want your child to, by the end of sixth grade, to have a platform of basic skills that are complete. The strategies for that are strategies that deal with repetition and self-monitoring. Unfortunately, many people think it's memorization. Big mistake. And we have hundreds of strategies that teach children the concept of repetition and how to self-monitor, how to go back and check yourself so that no one has to check it for you. Once a child hits 7th and 8th grade, the goal of education changes, and it says you have a platform on which to walk. Now, I really want you to go on your own, read something, access information, and I want you to demonstrate that you own it. Don't demonstrate to me you memorized it. I want you to show me that it's going to be with you forever. That's called learning. The strategies for that enter into the world of paraphrasing, and there are gazillion ways to teach a child about paraphrasing. There's not just one.
Mm-hmm.
Once a child hits 9th grade, they will learn some new basic skills such as chemistry and foreign language. Grade 10.5 is the time when a child must enter into thinking the way they should think for the rest of their lives, and that is through visioning. I have this information. I can speak about it freely. It is part of the background that's in my mind into which I put new data. And now I am going to create questions that I will ask myself. Has the world asked these? And I'm going to take this information and I'm going to try to come up with an answer that no one else has. This is the time when, in elementary school you say, when was the American Revolution? In middle school you say, what was the poet trying to say? In high school you say, if you were the president, how would you get us out of Iraq? Our children are not re-strategizing. They are not entering into the learning. They're not changing their tool set. And they get to high school, and many of them are still using the same tools, and no wonder they're bored. No one has given them the tools to create their own house and their own thoughts. The strategies really have to look at what is the child's mind ready to do? There are whole issues of growth and development that as a nation we're losing sight of as we make young children try to do what we used to do as older kids, and we didn't do bad as a nation, let me tell you. We weren't flunking. And you also have to see where that child's passions are. With that information, it is amazing the strategies that you can develop for children that bring an excitement to them that is totally theirs. Once they become passionate about realizing that they can create the world, going to school becomes interesting, but the passion goes through the night. That's what we want to see our children do.
All right, if someone listening is more interested in learning more about these strategies and talking to you further, how can they go about getting in touch with you?
Well, they can call my office at 767-2317, or they can go to my website, FournierLearningStrategies.com. And Fournier would be Fournier, FournierLearningStrategies.com.
Our thanks to you, Dr. Fournier, for being with us on Tennessee Matters today. And thanks to all of you for staying with us. There is much more to come on Tennessee Matters. So stay tuned right here on the Tennessee Radio Network.